friends, it's Kristen from Spree Create, a division of Spree, and I have recorded on this sunshiny day in my craft room a double page spread project lifestyle for week 21 of 2022. So let's dig in. So I had first recorded a quick clip of myself actually printing doing my photo dump to my Epson PictureMate 400, and the video deleted or it wasn't there. So here we are. We just dive right in. I print all my pictures in 3x4s or 4x6s, and I believe I only had one 4x6 this week. So I lay out all of my pictures and I try to see if there's kind of a coordinating color or a way for me to kind of blend the pictures all together, or a unifying color that brings them all together. And I'm going through my Ali Edwards stash. I believe I go through and filter through my cards for the April, May, and June kits by the month, and I start to pull some of the colors, like there's like some kind of pinky terracotta colors from the baseball picture there on the bottom, that I think I'm going to end up pulling. And I also pull a bit of this aqua teal light blue color that's also in that same picture. It seems to kind of unify with all the other bits and pieces of blue that there are across my spread this week. So I'm going through all of my cards, and I ultimately go through the basic storytelling kit from Ali Edwards as well. So I think this kit here is the June kit, and like I said, I pull as many different colors as I think I am going to use, because I really when I sat down to do this, I wanted to complete the spread, but I wasn't really prepared. I didn't really have any ideas. I didn't even really have a good grasp on what pictures I had for the week and what stories I wanted to tell. So I was kind of all over the place, and it took me a long time to find all the supplies, and I in some ways tore my scrap room apart in the process. So now I'm just looking for a title card. I'm also, like I said, pulling from that basic storytelling kit from Ali Edwards, and I'm going now and just finding anything. I'm realizing that I'm really liking that aqua color, so I'm going through the cards there and trying to find them. So again, as always, there's a lot going on in my pictures, and I also always seem to have flips as well. So I'm using some of the journaling cards to kind of cover up or tone down some of the darker pictures, so that I can have, if I flip them up, I can have journaling and my pictures, but also have a really cohesive look to all of my pictures. So to avoid the glare this week, I tried to just do my layout on the table and not insert in the pocket pages as I was going. And I make a few mistakes along the way this week. I don't know. I guess my head wasn't in it. But I do go through at the end. It all comes together. But what I'm doing right now is still just trying to balance out the page with the hits of that aqua color, and I'm trying to find ways to incorporate my flips into with the pictures that kind of seem a little bit darker. So I found a chipboard sticker from Ali Edwards that says current hobbies, and my husband actually, on week 21, my husband went away to a concert and to baseball game in Boston. So the two boys and I were home for a few days alone, and it seems like that is when I get the most projects done around the house. So under my current hobbies, I have some pictures of my hands covered in paint, and I was doing some work on our kitchen table, but I also had the Amber Heard's Johnny Depp trial playing in the background. So those are the pictures that are underneath that current hobbies stack that I'll end up turning into some photo flips. Once I have all my cards, I grab my little organizers and I pull as many different Ellie Edwards chipboard stickers in those colors. I pull some label stickers, I pull some wood veneers and some brads. I don't end up using them, but I do pull them just so that I do kind of have a core, basically supply kit sitting there as I work. So I work on the next step that I was working on was the title card, and I was off camera for the entire part of that. But what I ultimately do here is I realize that I just want to stamp week 21, and I'm going to use my mega date stamp. And to do that, I go find my ink, and you can see in the picture I have here, I cover one section of my mega date stamp because I just want the numbers. I don't want the month and I don't want the year. So I apply the ink, and then I just use some tape, masking tape or scotch tape, whatever you have laying around, cover that up, and then stamp, and that's what I end up doing. So I did do a close-up on that. I have a terrible habit of working on the very, very edge of my desk. I don't know if you guys do that as well, but I work either over top of all of my pictures or on the very, very edge of my desk. And it ends up not being in camera. So what you saw there, I was going through a bunch of my die cuts and different ephemera because this week 21 doesn't really seem, for a title card, it needed a little something else, but I can't find anything and I just decide to leave it. So I dig into the next step, which is to turn some of these 3x4 cards into photo flips. So I'm not going to actually use, in this case, the flip is a journaling card. So I'm not going to use a plastic sleeve. I'm just grabbing a piece of scrap paper, rectangular, and I am just applying it with some double-sided tape, and I'm just using, instead of washi tape, I'm using this scrap piece of paper to create my flip. That way I don't cover any of the picture, and it's pretty sturdy. And I use this double-sided tape when I do stuff like this because I find that it holds. It bonds really well, and use it on heavier chipboard as well. So I just apply a couple strips of that double-sided tape, and I'm going to adhere it to the back side of my picture. So this is a screenshot of a Facebook memory between my brother and I where I was hacked, and it made me laugh in the comments below. So I wanted to include it, but it's not the most appealing, so I'm going to cover that up. So now on the front side of that scrap paper, I apply some more double-sided tape, and I am going to apply my journaling card over top of that. And I'm just making sure that I line it up. And once it's in place, I'm just going to make sure that it is adhered well. And then voila, we have our flip. But you see that scrap piece of paper, and I would like to journal about the screenshot. So I have a container of some really kind of my most used colors of Project Life cards, and I really quickly grabbed this one. The color goes. I'm not picky. It's just a journaling card. It has a spot for the date on the top, and I decided to go with it. So I'm just going to adhere that. It's going to cover over that scrap piece of paper that I used to create the flip, and also provide me a spot to journal. So I'm just going to put that on there, and that will be ready to go. And later on, you'll see I end up moving all of these cards around, all of my pictures around. So it was a good try to lay all of this out without using my Pocket Pages to avoid that glare, but in the end, it did not work for me. So there you go. That is one flip created. And I'll probably put a tab or something on. I think I do put a tab on that later on. So again, I'm messing around trying to make sure that the layout is nice and even, and I realized I didn't really grab very many stickers. So I go through my little basket that I leave right on my desk with some of my most used stickers. I don't find anything, and I just decide that it's time to move on to something different to try to get this spread finished. So I decide that I'm going to tell the story. So that is an Allie Edwards card from the Basic Storytelling Kit. And I'm going to put it beside the picture of my dog. And you can see there's a picture of Miss Frankie and myself. We're sitting on the deck and I have a pair of scissors. And I'm journaling all about why I don't understand why I insist on giving her haircuts, because I don't like to do it. It gives me a sore back and she always looks terrible. So it's probably time to take her to the groomer. There's no reason why. And funny enough, I can't, because I'm scared that I will get a sore back. I don't give her a full haircut in one sitting, so sometimes it takes several weeks before she's fully cut, and when we go out for walks in between, she may to other people look a little silly. So she currently has her body cut, but her legs are still, the fur on her legs is still long. So here I start to journal the stack of pictures. I have a picture of my youngest son and my husband, and I'm journaling about that. And like I said, I grabbed from Project Life cards that I have sitting right on my desk, and I do the whole thing and then I throw it out because I didn't like the printing on it. I didn't like what it looked like. So I just start from scratch, and I grab a couple of die cuts that I had sitting on the table. I grab my 2-inch circle punch, and I thought maybe that would mimic the current hobbies circle that I have, chipboard piece I have there. So I punch out a circle on white cardstock and I journal about the picture there on to the left. It's a picture of my youngest son in his golf gear. He came down on Saturday morning and insisted that I take him golfing. I don't golf, and I was drinking my coffee, and I said, absolutely not going to happen, kid. And his dad was away, so he just continued to get dressed and mulled around the house until his brother got up, and his older brother took him later. So I am wanting to journal that. I did all the journaling on the circle that I punched out, but it wasn't quite enough to tell the whole story, and it was just kind of getting lost on the patterned card that I had there. So what I decided to do is actually have the circle, but I'm going to do some more journaling around what I had already written. So I just grabbed that scrap piece of paper and cut a piece out big enough, and I continue my journaling. So at this point, I have no idea what the final product is going to look like. I just want to make sure that the story is told, and it just needed a little bit of white so that you could actually read the journaling. So I end up outlining all of the journaling, the white cards for sure, so that they are weighted and kind of balanced on that card. I end up swapping out the patterned card that I use, and I just grabbed a die cut from Vicky Boutin, actually, I think. It was just sitting on my desk, so I grabbed it. It was black and white, and it matched what I was doing, so it got attached. Not too fussy when it comes to that. So again, just doing my little organic lines around the card to kind of weight it down. I get distracted with what I was doing, and I keep moving that chipboard piece, so I end up adhering that to the journaling card there so that it's just done and out of my way. I know that's what I want to do. And what I'm trying to do now is even out where the journaling is and where those little pops of aqua color are going to be. And like I said, I don't think my head was in it today because I played around with those an awful lot. Wasted a lot of time moving those around. Maybe it was just because I wasn't thinking, because they weren't in the page protectors like I normally do. So I grabbed some more chipboard stickers. These are Project Life ones. That little sticker says no way, and I just write, there's no way that Mom was going golfing. I was enjoying the sunshine and drinking my coffee. And speaking of coffee, I am attaching a small little coffee cup sticker, chipboard sticker, to one of those pattern pages journaling cards, because the text messages beside that are actually between my oldest son and I, and he's saying, "Whoa, you got new coffee in our espresso machine." He said that stuff has got a little bit stronger of a kick than the Tim Hortons stuff we had the other day. And he tells me that it's like eating coffee beans. So I was laughing about that. So I included that little story. And then I'm just attaching chipboard stickers and whatever other kind of stickers that in those color themes I have laying around. I end up adding a little heart chipboard sticker to a picture of forget-me-nots that I picked from the yard. I actually ended up getting a bug bite right on my cheek when I did that. I'm adding some labeling to a little picture of my son outside, youngest son, starting his first science fair project. He is insisting on making sure that he follows the rules, so he's doing it himself, and he's spray painting for the first time, so he's all masked up in the yard. And I pull off a chipboard sticker to put on that page, but realize, or on that picture, but it doesn't work. So I put it on a different picture, and now I'm just going through my stash and adding any kind of puffy sticker or chipboard sticker or word phrase sticker that makes sense. And just adds a little bit of detail to the pictures. I play around with some looking for more stickers and some more ephemera. This is all again from Ali Edwards. I end up writing directly onto a couple of pictures, and in the final version you'll see that I end up reprinting. So what I'm doing here on this card, I end up writing directly on the card, and I don't like how it turns out, so I actually reprint that picture in the final layout. I don't do that very often. I usually just roll with it, but that was really bothering me. So I did go back and I used some stickers to attach first game, referring to his first professional baseball game that he went to. And now I'm just going back with some of the basics, adding a few more details directly onto the pictures. This 1, 2, 3 card is from Ali Edwards as well, and I'm just going to document everything that I haven't mentioned really. So I am, first is first, the first thing that I journal about is refers to the pictures on the top row, how my son Cage and the dog are fighting for my husband's side of the bed because he is out of town. The picture lower, there's glare on it there, but the second thing I wrote about was how it's a picture of my dad and my dog, and how we actually are neighbors. So my dog will go to my mom and dad's every day looking for a treat and maybe a couple of pets. She gets a little hot dog treat. And the third item that I journaled about was my youngest son was the first one in my parents' pool again this year. And this particular card, actually, the picture, sorry, is a picture of my backyard, freshly mowed, but it's hard to see in this picture, but I'm actually putting an arrow onto, and I want to title it "Why?" with a question mark. All of the lines from the lawnmower are all going one way, and then the last kind of ride up to put the lawnmower away, the tires, the path that they go in is all jaggedy and back and forth, and it drives me nuts because the lines are all going one way until the very end. So I'm making a joke, and I'm going to add some journaling onto that as well. It is the season, the weather is changing, which is why the open arms for this season, new season card was perfect. So again, I'm just going back and trying to find some embellishments and any little bit of detail that I can add. What I realize here is that I had stacked up my current hobbies, so I haven't had a chance to go back and create the flips for that. So here's another epic fail from this week. I forget that this is the back side of my page protector. So I create these flips with the scrap piece of paper trick instead of using the flip ups. And so they actually can't flip because they're inserted on the opposite side of the page. So I end up making some adjustments that actually I don't think were caught on camera, but I make it work. I use the fuse tool and I reinforce the sides and I make some slits in the page. But again, I don't know where my head was today, but I end up making another flip. And like I said, it's for the wrong side of the page, but I do the exact same thing as before. I'm using a scrap piece of paper and I'm attaching it to create the flip. And then on the underside, I am using, in this case, I'm using a picture. If I don't use a picture, then I'll use a journaling card. And what that will do is cover up that scrap piece of paper that is actually holding the two together. So then you can just slide it into the pocket. Here I am taking a picture of my son and a picture of my husband and creating another flip, again for the wrong side of the page, but I'm creating a flip and basically they're doing the exact same action in the picture. It's actually screenshots from a little video that I took, and I'm putting the picture of my youngest son on top, and the journaling or the text, the caption on the picture is, or I guess I have already written it, it says flip to add 30 years because they literally look exactly the same, just a little older. So I am grabbing my page from my album and I'm going to start putting all of my cards in, and this is when I realize what mistake I have made. So I'm putting all the cards in, everything is good, and then I realize, oh, I can't tuck that in. So I go ahead and I put all of them in, but like I said, I do make a little slit for the cards in there, and I do reinforce the outer edge with my fuse tool. I also, for some reason, that top card on the left was very heavy and kept falling out just as it did there. So I use my fuse tool to fuse that in as well, and that way the pages are bonded together and they won't keep falling out. So the 4x6 pocket on the bottom had two 3x4s, so I'm just going to make sure that they aren't going to flop around, and I'm just going to take advantage of that card being in there, and I'm going to tape these 3x4 cards onto the back of it and slide that into the pocket as well. A little bit of difficulty there because there's flaps on the other side of the page. So get everything in the right order. And I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm using the back side of the card that was already in there, and I have a 3x2 3x4 cards that I'm going to use to attach there. Actually, here's another example of something I wasn't happy with. I have it all attached, and the color was so bright in the background I can't leave it, and the photo paper is a little, like I can see through it too much, so I just pull that off. I grab, actually it was a piece of scrap vellum that I had laying around there, I probably should have used some white cardstock, but it did the trick and it probably wouldn't get used otherwise. So I put that over, which mutes the background so that that bright color from the back side of that card doesn't show through onto the photo paper. And then I just make sure that it's all adhered, and then I actually go back and I trim off the extra because that color was the card was so bright in the back, there was pink there and I didn't want that showing. So making sure that there's no residue, glue residue, and I finally have it all in. So at this point, I've already gone back and taken the fuse tool and run it along the side. I've cut slits in the back of this page protector so that I can have flips on the back side of it. Again, don't recommend, and I could have just gotten some photo sleeves and changed it, but I wasn't feeling it today. So I just used the fuse tool, and like I said, I sealed the top. I go back with some Ali Edwards little tabs, and use my mini attacher. And that way now I have 2 flips on the back side. That is what I end up fusing because it was annoying that it kept falling out. And this page I have no problem with until, again, there was another mistake. So I had intended on putting that journaling, the quote card, 4x6 card in the middle, not thinking that they are 3x4s. And again, I could have just grabbed a different design page protector. I did have them on hand, but it was an easy fix. I am not that particular, so I just decided to move it to the bottom and tucking all my cards into the sleeves where they will fit. And then, as I said, getting them all in there, but I do go back for a final, one more time. I revise them and go back and add a few more stickers and a little bit more embellishments before I call it quits on this one. So that arrow wasn't quite enough on that picture of my backyard, so I do go back. I make sure that I add the little tabs to all the flips so that it is cohesive and all looks the same. So I have 1 little flip on the right hand side, I have 2 on the left hand side, and used a mix of supplies I already had with a mix of some of the newer Ali Edwards cards. What I'm doing here is adding, I realized I didn't get to tell the story about my husband going on a little mini vacation, so I am going to tuck a 3x4 card in behind that 4x6, and I'm going to journal on that and just put a little tab on it so that we know to pull it out when we're flipping through. So here it is, up close and personal with the flips and some journaling. So a few label stickers, and I did go back in my stash and I found some Ali Edwards small tiny phrase stickers. I end up adding those on top of the photo sleeves. You can see them there to help embellish the story just a little bit and add a little bit more detail. What I'm panning over here is, if you noticed at the very beginning, I printed some 5x7 pictures. I have a very talented photographer friend that took some pictures of my son playing soccer. So I just mounted those on some white cardstock, no journaling, just the date, plunk those into a 6x8 sleeve, and I can insert that into my album in between this 2-page spread. Ultimately, you will see overall, I ended up going back and changing the layout again one more time. You'll see where I added some stickers on those final pictures. It was definitely a bit of a struggle this week, but ultimately I'm happy with how it all turned out. I love the colors of this week's spread. I love that I was able to do lots of journaling, tell lots of stories, and get lots of pictures on the layout. So hopefully, if you enjoyed watching, you won't forget to subscribe and like this video. As always, thanks so much for watching.